Hi, and thanks for joining me. My name's Lucy. I'm a counsellor, a coach, and a mentor, and I work for A Good Chat. You can find all the links below. This is part 4 of a series that I've been running on how little things can make your life a whole lot better. Now, all of these aren't just like my own little takes on things. These are all actually come from studies done at various points over the years. And I've implemented these changes myself, so I know that most of them definitely work. Even if they're not particularly relevant to your life, it's interesting to know what they are so that you can make adaptations to them or at least understand what they are. Most of them are pretty common sense things. All of these come from scientific papers that have been published over the years. They are implementable really easily. You don't need any experience or skills to put them into practice. It just takes actually understanding what they are and then putting them into practice. So I hope you find them valuable, but let's get on with it. The first one that I've got for you is turn off your media and your TV. TV and media are things that just suck up a whole bunch of time. We all know the feeling that we sit down to watch one thing and it turns into 3 or 4 hours sitting in front of it and we've done nothing. It's okay to get involved in a show that we like or to catch up on a TV series, but if we're doing it every day, these are one of the things where people go like, oh, I just don't have time to do it. And yet suddenly they've got 3 seasons of The Good Girl that they can catch up on, and surely there's better uses of that time. Instead of sitting down and mindlessly watching TV or consuming social media or other forms of media just blindly and without much thought behind it, you can be using that time to be more productive. You could choose to do anything, including reading a book. It's a lot more productive than just sitting and watching TV most of the time. There aren't many bigger drains out there than watching TikTok for 6 hours and just letting the entire day get away from us. So allocate time that you can do these things on media, and the rest of the time try to do something productive or use it to meditate or to better yourself. Or just use it to catch up on the household chores. You will feel quickly like you've got a lot more time in the day when you limit the amount of time that you spend on TV, social media, and other forms of brainless media. This one took me a while to learn. You're not going to win everything. You're just not. Setting yourself up like that to expect to win all the time not only makes you unpleasant to be around, nobody wants to be around that person. You're not going to learn things because you're going to be so set in thinking that you're right. You're also just going to be setting yourself up for disappointment. The only thing that you're going to win is a sense of unease that you're not accomplishing anything. When we accept the fact that we're not going to win everything, we're not going to win every argument, even if we're right, we're not always going to win, and that's okay. We just need to learn to accept the fact that sometimes it's just not going to be a win-win situation. Sometimes it's a I'm going to walk away right here situation, and that's okay. You'll get over it. There are other things that you can win, like making your life happier. You can win at that. Cultivate friendships. Friendships don't just happen. They tend to actually do the opposite. They just fade away as you get older and we don't actually cultivate them. Connect to people that you want to stay in your life. Connect with people that you actively want to be a part of their lives. It takes communication, and sometimes it is going to be an unbalanced thing. You might be sitting back thinking, well, they don't contact me. That's not actually an excuse to just let the friendship go. Just because they haven't learnt that skill of reaching out to you doesn't mean that you can't be the person that reaches out to them. You can be the better friend if you want to put a measure on it. But the fact is, friendships are so valuable in our life. We miss them when they're gone, but we don't often put enough time into actually keeping them. So reach out to the people around you and cultivate those friendships. Set time aside to catch up with them, be it virtually, by phone, by computer, by chat, by video, however. But preferably, try to actually meet up with your friends once in a while. Of course, the last year has also shown us that it's really easy to just get distracted for 12 months and not be able to see everybody because, you're locked up in your house. This is another excuse to get out and about and catch up with all those people that you haven't seen in such a long time. Check in with people, take active interest in them, and cultivate those friendships. You're certainly not going to regret it. Accept yourself. Have a good look at yourself and accept who you are. If you want to change, use that knowledge of who you are to empower those changes. Accepting yourself doesn't mean saying, okay, that's it, I'm perfect, I don't need to change. Usually it's actually quite the opposite. It's saying, okay, I have a tendency to be like this and I want to cultivate more of this. So how do I go about doing that so that it works for me? It's accepting the fact that we are valuable people. It's accepting ourselves. If you've got traits about yourself that you don't want to accept and you don't like, work to change them. Seek out help to change them. You don't have to do these things alone. That's literally my job. You can always contact a counsellor and seek services. But generally speaking, accepting yourself leads to a much more positive self-image, and that of course leads to a happier life in general. Your life has meaning and purpose. Sounds silly because some of us feel that we literally don't have meaning and purpose, but the fact is you have connected to every single person and place that you've met or been to. Every time you've met a person, you have made an impact in their lives. Now there's this phenomenon called sonder, which is where we realise that the people around us in the streets, that we don't know their stories, that they are real, viable, actual people living full, complex lives that have got nothing to do with us. And I absolutely love the word and the concept. But the fact is we live lives that don't have sonder with the connections that we've got. Every family member of yours, you bring value and meaning to. Even if you don't get along with that person, you have value and meaning. Your life has touched so many other people without your conscious knowledge of it. You may have met somebody at a service station 5 years ago and given them a smile, and that was the only one they got that day, and they've remembered that since then. They remember you fondly. You gave them purpose and meaning. You gave yourself purpose and meaning at the same time, even though you didn't know that. Our actions, even when they're subconscious and they're not done purposefully, always touch other people around us, which is why it helps to cultivate a more positive personality so that the positive influences are on other people and not the negative ones. When we accept the fact that we do have purpose and meaning, and on a spiritual level, you may feel that there is a greater purpose and meaning than the one that's present around us, and that's absolutely wonderful. But even just right here in the material and in the physical world around us, the connections that you've had and the places that you've been, you've left an impression. How you left that impression and what you do with future impressions is now up to you, because you've got that knowledge. So use that to empower your world and use it to shape the world in the image that you want to see. Make it a better place by making sure that you're conscious of the small things that you contribute to people, and try to be that good influence out there. Friendships beat money. It goes without saying, but it's amazing that we strive so hard to make as much money as we possibly can, but very few of us strive to make as many friends as we can. Genuine friends. I'm not talking Facebook. Remember back in the day when you could have like 50 million friends on there and you didn't know any of them? They're not friends. They're just Facebook clicks, and half of them aren't even real. Friendships are something that we should be striving for, because at the end of our lives, people don't use money as a success factor. They don't look at money and go like, oh, I've made it. They look at the friendships that they've got. Friendship is one of the strongest success factors we can use as a metric in our lives. We can look around us and say, I'm a successful person because all of these people are friends with. I've had a good life because I've got good people around me. Don't generally sit back and say, I've got 6 buckets of money, I've made it. It can be a very lonely place having 6 buckets of money, because you'll lose trust with people. Having 6 friends around you, however, and not a single dollar amongst you, you still have a very strong chance of being really happy and having a great time. Friends are better than money. So aim for making as many actual friends as you can instead of as much money as you can. Of course, you want to combine the two, go for it. But friends are a much better metric to how happy you will end up being. Welcome new ideas. In your life, you've probably got a set way of thinking about things. We all do. You get into your groove as you get older and things start to get pretty settled. A really great example is this when you go onto Facebook and you find a controversial topic posted by your local news media, who do this to engage with the audience and get the algorithm on Facebook to give them more boostings. Go and have a look at your local news story. They're like semi-soft news. For example, if you're in Australia, go and look up literally any local news story that's doing a change the date story. They all do it this time of year. I've got my views on that, you've probably got your views on that, but the point of this exercise is go and read the comments. It's disturbing. Some of the rhetoric on those comments comes from pure ignorance. no matter which side of the spectrum you fall on, you will find nothing but ignorance in those comments to downright hatred. Racism, hatred, you will see all sorts of stuff where people just go, wow, okay boomer, wow. These aren't people that are allowing themselves the idea of moving with the times, of allowing new ideas in. They're comfortable in their little tiny groove. That's where they'll stay. They have no interest in moving on. As you do get older, always be prepared to change your views. As new information comes up or as your understanding of a topic changes, be prepared to change your views with it. That's how you stay relevant to the times. It's also how you stay happier. Sticking your little blinders on and staying with the old-fashioned ideas just because that's how it was always done is how the younger generations end up not appreciating you. We've all heard the okay boomer meme, and it's around for a reason. You do get a lot of old folks that have very old-fashioned views that we all think, why would you not change that? In this day and age, they have all the access to media that the rest of us have, but they don't allow new ideas in, and therefore they stay with that very set thinking that is just so out of date. Avoid becoming that and let new ideas in. Last one for today, have reasonable expectations. In your life, you will have so many expectations. They'll be placed on you and you'll have them for other people, for other things and situations. When you keep those expectations of yours realistic, not only are you not setting yourself up for failure, you're setting other people up with realistic expectations of you. Doing that from the start means that less people are inclined to dump stuff on you that you can't handle, and B, it's going to also ensure that your expectations are always realistic. Having realistic expectations about the world around you, about your friends' capabilities, about your family's expectations, being realistic about these things keeps us from failing. It keeps us from setting ourselves up to expect golden diamonds to fall from the sky when all that's happened is we're getting some confetti and glitter. The way you look at things is so important, and setting yourself up for huge, big expectations and then having some mediocre nothing happen is going to not just disappoint you, it's going to set you into a cycle of really negative thoughts. You can avoid that just by setting the expectations to a realistic level and then being really pleasantly surprised when they're exceeded. But don't expect things in your life to move bigger than they generally do. Even if you're setting yourself up to be the next Britney Spears, I don't know why you do that, but I guess some people out there aim for that stuff. But let's say you are. You decide that you want a pop career that is the biggest in history. You don't set yourself up to go from no recording contract to expecting to get a recording contract within a year and be on world tour and be collecting big, huge dollars from concert and download sales. You just don't do that. You set it up in stages. Your expectations become bigger as that bigger expectation becomes more realistic to your circumstances. So keep your expectations realistic to save yourself from feeling like a failure. But until next time, I'm Lucy from The Good Chat, and I hope it's been a good